All right. Exciting. All right, we have Mitchell, Colleen, and Betsy here, and myself that are all in the commission, so we're only missing Teresa. So we now have quorum, so I'll call this meeting to order. Mark will take note of all those who are in attendance. I guess most of you are already on, but just for the reference of repeating, Neil is out sick, so he will not be here. He will not be here, so Mark is taking his place for that. And we'll get into a little conversation about that. Can I, from the commission members, have a motion to approve the minutes of the November 17th meeting, which were attached to the packet?
Motion to approve the minutes.
That's first for Colleen. Is there a second?
Second, it's Betsy.
Betsy seconded. Awesome. Were there any additions, corrections, changes on those minutes that any commission member saw? Seeing heads shake no. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, nay. All right, hearing none, those are passed. All right, are there any, I know a lot of you are with applications, but anyone else that's outside that's here for public appearance that's online? All right, taking that silence and no heads shaking. And there's nobody in this room, so we will move out of that. There's no old business, new business. Consideration with possible action on 2024 tourism grant applications for funding. What I'm gonna actually do is skip to staff updates real quick, just because I think it will be nice to have a level set of what our budget is for this year and what that picture looks like, what we approved last year, and then what we actually still have in balance from approved applications that is still outstanding. So I will hand that over to our finance director, Mark. Where's the share link? Yep, there you go. He's just working on sharing his screen real quick.
Just want to share this real quick. I think it was in the receipts in the packet too. So these are the grants from last year. There's still some ongoing, kind of highlighted in yellow. So requested 331,000 last year. We paid out 192,000 so far today. And then the highlighted ones are equals 119,366. So we had total available after everything was audited and everything, 563,000. Spent the 192. We have outstanding of 119,000. So we have 251,000 available. We also does not include what we just recently collected in 2023. We're estimated to be around 300,000. Fourth quarter is not due until January 31st. I have not received any fourth quarter amounts. People and all the people pay by quarter. So I got the first 3 quarters just based on that. We estimated what we have over the years for the fourth quarter. I estimated around a little conservative, about 300,000. So if you add those two numbers together, it's 551,000.
Thanks, Mark. And just to remind, and for new members too, is it's a little bit confusing. So we actually spend money from the previous year or whatever's in the balance plus the previous year. We don't want to take an estimate for what we might get in 2024 and approve those types of grants because we don't necessarily know. I mean, the pandemic is a great example that we could have estimated, 400,000 that year, and then the pandemic hits and then we don't get anything. So we don't want to necessarily have our budget be in the red at any point. So what we do is we take whatever's in the balance, which is new this kind of cycle because we never really had a balance before, but then whatever we made in 2023. So when I look at what we have to approve and to spend in 2024 in our current 4 quarters would be that $300 or 300,000 plus the remaining balance of 251, so around 550,000. Does any commission members have any questions on that? Okay. And Mitchell, feel free to jump in, because I can't see your head shake yes or no. Feel free just to interject if necessary.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. Are there any other financial questions or kind of staff update questions that anybody has on the commission for Mark before we kind of dig in here? Okay. Seeing and hearing none, we'll then jump back up to new business and consideration with possible action for 2024 tourism grant applications for funding. We received in the packet that everyone had access to. Neil has reviewed them, a little bit new and different this year. And a conversation I want to have with the commission is, so new this year is Neil took a look at it, all of the proposals, and then put together what he, as a staff recommendation. So you saw that spreadsheet in there as well. We also included in the packet, obviously, all of the proposals and applications, so you're able to read the details in addition to what his staff recommended proposal is. The challenge here, and one question I have for the commission members are, Neil has a different way of thinking about what we fund and what we should fund and kind of that process. You know, and he's not necessarily here to explain it and to lay that out for us. I think I know a little bit, but I also, you know, to be frank and honest, I have some disagreements with how he thinks how it goes. So you know, what I want to kind of mention to the commissioners is, you know, the comfort level of moving forward. We have multiple ways to move forward. We could move forward and, you know, take his recommendations as a data point and make our own recommendations today and move forward with this quarter's applications. We could hear from all of the applicants that are here because they've taken their lunch hour plus to, you know, attend this meeting and to provide the presentation. Obviously, it's recorded. And then we could schedule another meeting next week and make those decisions when Neil is not sick and is available. Or we could just reschedule completely, which I don't necessarily enjoy the idea of for a variety of reasons. But I wanted to open that up to the commission members because I don't want to assume what I'm comfortable with was what you're comfortable with.
If I could just ask a follow-up. So I noticed some of the recommended funding is pretty dramatic from what is requested. And you said you kind of know what his thinking was, but you're, how much information do you have?
So yeah, that's a great question. I guess I insinuated too much information that I know. I mean, I'm basing it off of notes and maybe some back and forth emails that I had that
Sure.
it's very marketing driven. So what I'm guessing and what my clarification questions were going to be to him is, so within the budget presented, you know, whatever budget that was, there's usually staff time, there's obviously marketing components, there's supplies and event execution kind of components to it. You know, what are you including in? Well, let's just take the first one on the spreadsheet. You know, all those wedding and sustainable events. So 40,000 was proposed, but 10,000 was recommended. So what's included in that 10,000?
Right.
I just wanted to dig into that a little bit more. So I don't know much aside from kind of looking at this. And I also had a question about hotel promotion, like what is that? And is that like, you know, I don't agree that our tourism money should be literally buying hotel rooms because I think that's kind of like self-serving and kind of, in some ways, maybe a conflict of interest. So I wanted to ask him a little bit more about that. And, you know, with Christine, I know he had a conversation about making an application, you know, the tourism entity contract, the 50,000. So you rolled it. So I had a lot of like, kind of, I don't want to even say detailed questions because I feel like they're just questions that maybe we all had on it.
Yeah.
So I mean, and we could always approve, you know, obviously the commission, these are staff recommendations. And what I mean by this is a data point. We could also approve what we feel as a commission is responsible to. So, and that's kind of been the path that we've taken up until this point.
I guess another follow-up question I have is this tourism entity contract.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
So it
Well,
looks like
Lil,
he's
I know
rolling
about-
all the MESBA requests into that, yes.
Yeah. So a piece of that, and I think what stemmed from that is I reached out to him because the first 3 years, the Tourism Commission, MESBA has always been our tourism entity.
Right.
But technically, we can go anywhere. And, we could go Destination Madison, we could find, but what I mean by that is it was a year-to-year contract. And so I reached out to Neil this year and I was like, hey, we need to at least renew this. And it had no financial component to it previously. They were just our tourism entity, and that's all it said. So it looks like this year, what he was thinking is, well, if you're our tourism entity, like there should be a financial component with it, and then therefore, with all of your requests as well, maybe we fold that in. And then, they have I hate to say a chunk of money, but they have a chunk of money, but they would have to report back to us of this is how we used our 50,000. This is why it was for tourism marketing and, encouragement, et cetera.
Okay.
So I think that's where it went, and I'm sure we can dig into it a little bit depending on how this conversation, because I know, I believe Christine and Neil talked about this a little bit more. So those are the little bits of information that I know.
So rolling that into one contract was Neil's idea, not necessarily MESBA's. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I believe so. And I see
Okay.
Christine. Sorry, there's like a glare with the overhead lights too on this screen. But yeah, I think that was very much Neil's idea.
Okay.
Because I hope he wasn't insinuating that was my idea. I just wanted to renew this contract. So let's, Mitchell, Betsy, and Colleen, what do we feel comfortable with today moving forward?
Well,
I think I like,
sorry.
oh, sorry, go ahead, Colleen.
Oh, no, I was just saying, I do agree, people have taken the time out, so we should definitely at least hear from all the applicants on the call. I am very curious about how he arrived at some of these numbers, just again, because the request to recommendation is so dramatic. So I would like to hear from Neil on some of that before we vote, but I'm also willing to vote today if that's what most members are comfortable with.
And I would say I'm with you, Colleen, that it makes sense to hear from folks that have logged on, and maybe the decision needs to be held off. Because it does make sense to hear from Neil, considering just as Colleen has suggested, there's some significant changes to the requested amounts and suggested funded amounts.
Mitchell, I want to make sure your voice is heard on this too.
I'd agree with that, with both.
Okay. And then, so it sounds like we'll hear from everybody, and then, how do the applicants feel about that? We're gonna try our hardest to meet next week as a commission to make ultimate decisions. You'd present today. Worst case scenario, we had additional questions, we could always reach out to you either before, obviously now, today, before we would meet next week, or, worst case situation after we meet next week as a commission. If we really had a lot of questions, we could reach out to you, get more answers, and then, again, meet again. Are all the applicants pretty comfortable with that if we, okay,
Just one question.
sure.
We discussed this, this is the first time I'm seeing this contract, actually. He just kind of said generically the other day, we'll just roll some of this stuff together because this is, like the Monona Guide and the website stuff that we do every year. But, do I need to have a separate bank account? I don't know what this exactly means, so.
Yeah, no, we can, I think the contract will be a separate conversation that we can, again, maybe annoy you and get you on that other meeting when Neil is here. And he can talk to you a little, talk to all of us a little bit more about what he's thinking. The contract, and I would say, no, you don't need a separate bank account. It would be the same kind of transfer as has been happening in the past. I just want to be clear, the contract that I was originally talking about it was just a formal agreement having us connected as a tourism entity and a commission, which again, did not have any financial connection or requirements. It was just saying formally MESBA was our tourism entity. And that, I apologize, I didn't know what he's provided you in advance or what conversations you guys have had, but that we can talk about separately. What I think is good for today is we'll actually just take the items one by one, even though, again, kind of ignoring the contract, but the contract rolls in a number of those pieces. But we want to hear about those pieces anyways. And then our next meeting, we can make sure we work with you to make sure the timing is right, that you can attend and hear from Neil about what the contract looked like. And frankly, I'll tell Neil also to reach out to you and talk to you more in depth about it prior to that too, because it'd be helpful for you to understand what that looked like and what that meant. All
I
right,
sent him an email, but he didn't respond, so I guess you said he was ill today, so that makes sense.
okay, yeah. Yeah, and unfortunately, he can't log in. He said he's getting a COVID test and he can't, his throat is sore and he doesn't have a voice, so that's why he's not even logging in, his voice is gone. So, all right, thank you very much, everyone, for kind of the patience here. What we will do is we'll move on and we will have all of the presentations of the applications. And then again, it's being recorded, so any commissioner or anyone who wants to reference back to this will be able to do that as well. All right, I am gonna go in the order that is. I'm gonna actually go in the order that's on the spreadsheet with his staff recommendations. So it might not necessarily coincide with the order that is in the packet. And I apologize for that. So we're gonna start with the wedding and sustainable events from Aldo Leopold Nature Center. And they have the first three. And I think
Hi.
Kara's here to talk about that.
Yes, I am. I'm Kara, and I'm the Marketing and Communications Manager at the Aldo Leopold Nature Center. And I also have Isabella here. She is our Sustainable Events Manager, so she can chime in about this first application whenever she's ready. So yeah, for many years, the Aldo Leopold Nature Center has been putting heads in beds in Monona with our sustainable events and our weddings. We are booked many years throughout our prime peak season, May through October. Pretty much every weekend we have a wedding scheduled, and a lot of times, well, always there's guests from out of town. A lot of times, even the wedding couple is from out of town as well, and Isabella can speak a little bit more to that. Folks grow up in this area, they're looking for a nice venue, outdoor venue to get married, and they have family living in Chicago, Milwaukee, Minneapolis, and so they just choose a central location such as the Aldo Leopold Nature Center to host their wedding. Even if the couple is local, a lot of times they'll spend the night in the hotel. They'll spend their wedding night in a hotel in Monona to be closer to the nature center. And we also offer a special thing about our wedding rentals is we offer access Friday night through Sunday morning. So it gives a lot of opportunity, it provides a lot of opportunity for couples getting married and their wedding parties to stay in Monona, to be in Monona, and to spend their money in Monona. This year, we're looking for funding to support our weddings to make them even more sustainable. We're looking at buying reusable plates and plasticware. That is one cost to wedding couples that can be a bit of a headache in terms of lining up reusable items. And so we want to supply that for them. We want to provide that to them here. We're also looking for funding to support weddings and events in themselves. So some staff time, staff funding, but then also marketing. We were booked solid in the years prior to the pandemic. However, the pandemic has caused a little bit of shuffle around in terms of hosting. A lot of folks' weddings had to be postponed or rescheduled. And so we've caught up on that now, but we're finding that we need to do a bit more promotion. We're lacking a little bit in marketing, and so we want to promote weddings to make sure that we're really filling every weekend. So that's the long and the short of it. Isabella, do you have anything to add at this moment?
I think just that we're working on like really finding ways to integrate the weddings into the community here. So working with the hotels and local vendors and making sure we're recommending those to couples and supporting them and choosing local vendors here.
Awesome. Should have maybe even started with this meeting of kind of a notice of conflict of interest. I know, like myself, I'm involved with Friends of San Damiano, so I'll recuse myself from that. I'm used to be involved with MESBA, still love what they do, so I have passion there, but I'm not on their board anymore. And I know I've stated that previously that I would have to recuse myself from those. And then, is there anyone else that has some sort of conflict of interest with any of these?
I do, as a commissioner member. My name is Betsy Parker, and I'm the executive director at the Aldo Leopold Nature Center. So I do recuse myself from these 3 applicants that the Nature Center's put forth.
Perfect. Anyone else? Okay, I just wanted to cover that. Sorry, I should have done that before.
Just for one thing, the deal has 40,000 for funding request, it's actually 30,000.
Oh, is it only 30,000 in the application?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I see 40 to do in the application.
I see, you know, maybe I'm looking wrong.
Yeah, anyway, yeah, they're right. Sorry. The only question I had was, I know, staff time was included in the budget document. And I'm wondering, like, what percentage of your time, Isabella, is devoted towards this kind of wedding management, we'll say, and marketing efforts?
Yeah, I would say 90%. We have some other rentals that also might be bringing people to town, but most of my work is getting ready for the weddings, booking new weddings, working with the wedding couples. So yeah, I'd say 90% of my time.
I also have a question about so yeah, it seems like most of the request is for staff time and half your salary. So do the weddings do you not break even on the cost for the weddings for staff time?
We do break even. We're just trying to like navigate keeping the wedding rate at a reasonable rate for couples that fits into other wedding venues around here, while also paying equitable wages and trying to balance all that. So I put a lot of that in there this year.
So if you weren't to get this grant, especially the following covering the staff, would you still be able to afford it?
Yes.
Okay, that's my question. Thank you.
I think it's worth noting, if I may interject on behalf of my staff members, that the Aldo Leopold Nature Center is a 501c3 nonprofit, and the wedding rentals program is one of our revenue streams that supports our work, which the majority of our work is environmental education for pre-K through middle school aged children. So this is one way that we can provide access to our facility and space to people who would not normally be here. And as Kara explained, it does promote business here in Monona, but it also helps to support our other efforts in our nonprofit.
One question I had, and maybe this is getting too far down, but through your event management process, do you track what hotels they stay at?
Yeah, so I just became the manager in June of this past year. So I did not, except for just like you know, what I was noticing and talking to the couples and noticing when shuttle services were coming through and talking to them. But I definitely want to track that better this year and reach out to hotels and see if there's a way that we can work, you know, better together with room blocks or that shuttle service and figure out how we can do that. So I have plans for that this year, but I wasn't here for the full season last year.
Sure. No, that
I've
makes sense.
emailed, sorry about that. I've emailed with Kara before and she stopped in here. Can you get me a list of those dates? So then I can kind of cross-check it with any blackout dates that we may have for other events.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, sorry, I can connect you two after this call if I
Thank
haven't
you.
done so yet.
Yeah, and I asked that just because we, obviously it's a question on our application. It's something that's kind of hard to measure, but we're always trying to figure out ways to measure it as best we can. And so I know I had that idea with some of the other applicants is just like figuring out how we can, whether it's during registration or during follow-up afterwards of like where, you know, where did you stay?
Yeah, definitely. I'll add that in this year for sure.
Any other questions from the commission on this application specifically? All right, on to the adult summer camp, also at Aldo.
Yes. So what adult doesn't wish that summer camp was designed for them? In its inaugural year, we're hoping to kick off a new fundraiser this August with our, not hoping to, we are kicking off a new fundraiser this August with adult summer camp. Basically the weekend after summer camp is over, we're going to open our grounds to ticketed guests, and we're going to partner with local breweries. So throughout the grounds, we'll have different summer camp activities set up. Upon purchasing your ticket, you'll get a little cup, and you'll get to go throughout the grounds, touring, participating in the summer camp activities, and also tasting different beer from our local breweries. We're planning to have alcoholic and non-alcoholic options available. And for this event, we are planning to work closely with our hotels because of the alcohol component. We want to push folks to staying in Monona for the night, out of safety, obviously. And we're also planning to have a shuttle service from Ahuska Park to the Nature Center to cut down on traffic coming into the Nature Center itself. This event, we have our tickets priced at about $50 a piece. We're looking to have 12 stations or so out on the grounds. And we're basically looking to promote this activity not only to our Dane County residents, but also beyond Dane County, looking into Milwaukee markets, looking into Iowa. Aldo Leopold's, it's Aldo Leopold's birthday today, just really quick. He would have been 137 years old, and he was born in Iowa, and there are some big fans of Aldo Leopold in Iowa. And so we're thinking about the Dubuque market and how we can bring people into our area from that location, as well as the Fox Valley and other places throughout Wisconsin. Do you have any questions so far about this event?
Seems exciting and seems self-explanatory kind of. Commissioners, questions? I did not have any on my list. Okay, let's see. All right, hearing and seeing none. I was always taught to give a good pause. 30-year anniversary celebration.
Yes. So also this year, the Aldo Leopold Nature Center will be celebrating 30 years of children's environmental education. We're planning to kick off a year of events, a monthly event starting in June of this year and going through May of 2025. In July, we want to have a big community picnic. We're looking to invite folks in for a free meal. We recognize that the history of environmental education hasn't always been inclusive and welcoming to all groups. And we think what better way to celebrate 30 years of the Nature Center than to inviting folks to the Nature Center for a meal. And so the way I've allocated this grant is a lot of money for food, because I would love for people to come and enjoy a meal for free on the Nature Center grounds. And similar to Adult Summer Camp, we would be marketing this event beyond Dane County. Again, once heavily in the Iowa markets because of Aldo Leopold and our name recognition with Aldo Leopold. And again, we'd like to have a shuttle from Ahuska Park, just taking advantage of that space and having less traffic into the Nature Center itself. I want to just underscore here that the city of Monona is responsible for the Aldo Leopold Nature Center being here and for 30 years of ALNC, and we are not, that does not fall short on any bit of our radar. We are very grateful for the city and all the ways that they have supported us. For those on the call who are not familiar, this land was slated for development 30 years ago, and it was thanks to a group of hardworking Mononans who basically petitioned the city to purchase the land and conserve it as a nature center, as a nature site for children's environmental education. And so through this event, not only will we be lifting up our community in terms of welcoming them to the Nature Center, but we'll also be lifting up our Monona community in terms of celebrating all that Monona has to offer. And I think that's that.
Sorry, Teresa was texting me there, so I just.
I have a question, sorry, about the marketing budget. So 7,500 for the adults, camp, and then what was it, 10,000 for the anniversary. How did you arrive at those numbers, like approximately? I noticed you said you would be using several marketing agencies. That almost
Yeah.
seems like a low number for that kind of money.
Sure. The 30 years, we also are projecting advertising throughout the whole year, not just for the
Okay.
picnic event in of itself. So advertising
it.
our 30th for 12 months and connecting Monona tightly to ALNC.
So if the advertising isn't just for the event, what would kind of be the ask of the marketing? Just getting
Sure.
eyeballs to your website, or what?
I think the ask of the marketing would not just be to getting eyeballs to the website. If
Yeah.
you, Colleen, I remember you from the call last year. Monona as a nature destination, we're still working on that grant. And so we are planning monthly kind of activities at the Nature Center geared towards families. So bringing people into Monona throughout the year. One thing that we want to promote would be the Trailside backpacks and their use throughout Monona. As well as different nature hikes that we have planned and scheduled just throughout the year too. So
Awesome. Thanks.
Additional questions? Let's
Yeah,
say,
I do think, sorry, I do have one question, well, kind of a future question. Because to me, it seems like these are incredible events. It's very connected to Monona, and especially the wedding stuff is a really, I mean, it seems like a perfect investment if we're focused on heads and beds. So, but it does seem like Neil has an issue with the staff hours, if I had to guess from some of the differences in his recommendations. So for next week, I'm wondering if you could really dive into that, or just kind of have a clear answer on if that would be an appropriate use of funds.
you're talking to us, right?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, very well.
Yeah.
Mark,
We'll get it.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, and I think one of the questions that might come up from other participants too and other applicants is if the money is not funded in full, is it up to the discretion of the organization to spend the money how they would like? Or are Neil's recommendations including you can spend it on advertising, you cannot spend it on staff? So I think that might be something that everyone's wondering.
And not to answer for him, I'm about 98% sure that's the answer, is that it would just be for marketing purposes and not for staff or other event execution type things, but we'll get that clarified for our next meeting. Yeah, so I would say, Colleen, as far as the 30th anniversary application, Colleen's question kind of answered my question. Was it sounds like these are kind of two separate things. One piece is for the picnic, community picnic, and then one piece is marketing the 30th anniversary kind of year long and trying to attract things. So, I mean, my only kind of pushback would be, well, the community picnic is really for the community, which is not necessarily maybe getting heads and beds, whereas the other marketing would really hopefully pull from a broader audience throughout kind of this region to get people to Aldo, which I think is important. So just so you know where my head's at, that's was my thinking with that. So, all right, any other questions for Aldo as a whole? All right, seeing and hearing none. Christine, I hate to ask you this, since you have a good handful, do you mind if I tack off the other three real quick in case they want to leave?
I have a meeting at 1:15, but
Okay. No, let's tackle you. I said
Okay.
we'd go in this order, so
Sorry.
that's why I asked. All right, Discover Monona website is the next one from Mesba.
I'll just be really quick on this. We found out through a couple different ways that we need to do something different with all the pictures on our website. We need to come up with new pictures because our permission to have them or whatever has expired. So this is also tied into the partnership with the Monona Community Media team. We worked on it a little bit last year, but we just need to continue kind of working on getting pictures for the Discover Monona page. My staff person, the tourism coordinator, Laura, has been spending a lot of time on this, just, redoing some of the navigation and as much as she possibly can. But we've run into a couple of snags that we just don't know how to do ourselves, so we need some help. So one, it's redoing all the pictures and updating the site in general. And two, we need to pay a professional to help us with a couple of navigational issues with the website.
One question I quickly had was, are you thinking about rebranding as well, or keeping kind of the same branding logo that Discover Monona has currently?
We did not think about rebranding, and
Okay.
the look seems nice. We did take off the pterodactyls and put in seagulls again, but.
Oh, okay, all right. That was part of that question there.
So it's back to the original.
Yeah, yeah.
I have a, yeah, just, so I think you mentioned you're hiring a designer and it's really just about kind of updating the look of it. So will there be any money spent on things like SEO or social media strategy or things just to drive traffic to the website?
That is actually figured into some of like our event promotions and things like that connect to it. So no, this would just be working with a designer. We had someone kind of sit down and take a look at our site and go over things, and that's the estimate that they gave us.
Sure. Okay, thanks.
Mhm.
Any additional questions? And I think that kind of tackles your media library need application too, right? So that was down. And I don't want to feel like I'm rushing anybody. Any other questions on those two? Okay. Earth Day?
Earth Day, yes. MESBA and Aldo Leopold Nature Center have partnered to do Earth Day everyday events once a quarter. And that involves doing some sort of a weekend educational event, hands-on, some sort of activity to bring in families as well as our members, and then having a work day following that the next Friday, so that people can get out of work a little bit early, but to do something fantastic for the community. So it usually involves picking up garbage or something like that. But we wanted to have something really special for Earth Day itself, and we'd been talking to some of the businesses on Monona Drive, just in general, kind of trying to spruce up their storefronts. And one of our members is Good Oak, and they have native planting seedlings, and they're trying to do more education into native plantings and how that you don't have to water them as much and there's not as much care, et cetera, et cetera. So we just thought this would be a really good thing in addition to our quarterly to have a really, big Earth Day event where we can provide some landscaping plants, native plants, for some of our businesses along Monona Drive and Broadway.
I think this is a great idea. How would we get people in hotel rooms?
Well, the city also has an event going on that weekend. So we would put it on all of our pages. We'd put it on our promotion with Destination Madison as well, celebrating Earth Day weekend. So honestly, it's more of working to improve the community for tourists to come in, to make it more attractive, I guess, for people to come versus heads in beds, but we are promoting it out, in a wider area so that we can have people from out of town come in.
We also have an event that weekend. Mundo Esperanza puts on a day-long conference, and so they have professionals or folks from the Nelson Institute, Clean Lakes Alliance. They come out and do speeches at the Nature Center. Last year they had a Ho-Chunk dancer at noon. So we'll also be promoting this event in conjunction with all of the Earth Day activities.
Questions from anybody? Did we lose Mitchell? No. Oh, there you go. Sorry. Somebody dropped off. All right. Monona area guide request.
This is the annual Monona area guide. I think they come every year for funding for this. And this is one of the things he was trying to roll into a basic contract with us because we do it every year. This year, we're mailing it out to a little over 9,000 homes in the area. We're going to have a PDF created so that we can put it online with Travel Wisconsin, Destination Madison, Discover Monona, so people can see it and request, but like we can mail them a copy as well. We did this last year. I only pretty much put in what the printing cost and the design cost, and it took us a ton of staff time to organize this, to get together with our members, to update the pages. So this year I have staff time in there as well.
And I might be incorrect. This is also a revenue generation for MESBA as a nonprofit, right? So you'd be selling sponsorships and such, so there would be other projected funds,
Mhm.
revenues. Questions?
Christine,
This?
how many do you print usually?
We've been printing 10,000, and last year we had actually it was closer to 1,000 that we had on hand in town that we put at the banks and whoever wanted them. But we had to cut a couple zip codes a little short, so we're hoping to, if we increase our mailing, then it actually goes to more people, and we are reducing the size from like this size to more of what the Dane by Local have. So it's easier for people to put in their car and leave it in there. And we'll have more, we're going to have a whole story on the carving, on the Harry Whitehorse carving event this year, and focusing on his connection to Monona and the Ho-Chunk. We're hoping to work with the person who's doing the Spanish language program at the radio station to try to highlight what we're doing for the Latinx community. So it's going to be more than just these are the businesses in Monona. We really want it to be more of a guide to Monona.
We printed the Nature Center, a nature passport, and I don't know, have you seen the change in printing costs go up significantly like we have?
It did go up, but surprisingly, we can get 80 pages for a little bit less than we would have been able to get 40 pages at the larger one. So that's nice.
And I think you also drop them off at hotels, right? So that visitors can grab them. I think one thing, since we have the time, because we'll be meeting again as a commission, one thing I'd be interested to learn a little bit more about is, I'm really interested in those kind of separate, we'll say, articles or highlights of those events, because I think that really sells it to me, like, whether it's the Memorial Day Parade or the Whitehorse Festival or, things that are happening at Aldo. It'd be nice to know those, because you're advertising those to bring people in as well. And then if somebody's also staying at a hotel, pages through, and happens to be there on that same week or weekend, they could go visit those events. And I think that's a great kind of cross-pollination of all of, the people on the screen, but all of the work that you do with the hotels and everything too. So, yeah, so if you can, we can talk later too, but highlighting those a little bit and what events you'll be highlighting would be interested. Any other questions about the guide? All right, we will move on to Self-Discovery Weekend.
So this is a new event that we're trying this year. It will be February 16th through the 18th. So a Friday afternoon, Saturday, Sunday. So it's a whole weekend event. We're selling it as a package for the whole weekend, or they could buy like a Saturday slot or a Sunday slot. We have 18 different workshops slated for the weekend, including trapeze with Madison Circus, DIY furniture, a few like creating joy, finding your power, your point of power, axe throwing. Basically, we teamed up with all of our businesses, or gave everyone the opportunity to try to bring people in during a fairly slow season. So this is the weekend after Valentine's Day, and we're going to market it as, a Galentine gift, a Valentine gift, however you want to put it. We've been able to work with Destination Madison. We are their third weekend in 4 weekends of Frozen Fun blog posts that they have. So that's a huge bonus for us that goes out to the whole country. And they are going to do two-night giveaway packages on their social media channel, which is obviously way more than ours. So that will also help bring people in. We're targeting Chicago, the Twin Cities, Milwaukee, as well. We also are going to sell them individually, the workshops individually, if local people would like to come. But the whole goal is to bring people into Monona for the weekend. And that's where we're going to be putting most of our marketing money.
Quick question I had is, I know late last year we approved $10,000 for MESBA to then use for Destination Madison connection. What part of advertising with that is a part of kind of maybe any of your applications, or is that completely separate direction and advertising?
That will be separate. It'll be like a yearly contract. Since we didn't really get things up and running as quickly as we had wanted last year, we really didn't start with them until September. So that contract is good until September of this year. And part of that extra funding that we do is that they do include us in special promotions such as blog posts. So it doesn't look like it's an ad just for us. It's more of a encompassing, this is what you can do in Dane County, and here's a great event you should check out. So it looks a little less advertising.
Sure. So, sorry, just for my understanding, so like the blog post that they'll do for the self-discovery, it's separate from that contract. That would be included in this budget.
Right, it's the last year's contract.
Oh, that's last year's contract. Okay.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Questions on this application? All right, we got you done before 1.
Thank
There you
you.
go. Thank you. We will move to the Memorial Day Parade. Kelly Slack. There she is.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Perfect.
Yes?
Yep, yeah, we
Okay,
can hear you.
you're cutting out just a tad. Yes, I'm with the Monona Memorial Day Parade. And I don't remember the exact number that I requested, but it's largely to cover the Monona Police and the Madison Police presence that's now needed at the parade. The parade has been bringing in, I would say, closer to that 40,000 spectators each year. We've had phenomenal weather, and we feel a lot of those people are people coming back when they have grown up in the area and are coming back for the weekend and for the parade and other activities as well. We requested a little less last year and came up short. It seems like, feel like there's surprises always within the bills, but so that's why I upped it from last year a little bit.
And is the insurance,
Mhm.
insurance new this year?
I've always had insurance, but I'm coming up short. Like I'm heading into fundraising for next year, but I still have bills to cover from last year. So I did add the insurance and the Madison permit, which wasn't technically in there. I think I added that on. And then it was the 2 police bills, and then Madison bills me for barricades as well. So that's a new cost since after the pandemic.
Yeah, and just a quick recap, and Kelly, you can correct me if I'm gonna generalize this, just for newer members. So previously, the parade has never had to pay for Monona Police or Madison Police. And then something changed, who knows what. Then Madison Police started charging us for their time to shut down Monona Drive, because if we remember, half of Monona Drive is Monona, and then the other half, depending on where you are, but where the parade is, for all intents and purposes, the other side is Madison. So if you shut down Monona Drive, you have half and half. So so this was an expense that the parade had previously, but in the recent, maybe it was at 3 years now, this has been an expense. Just to give you a quick, high-level context of these.
Yeah, and I can elaborate on that. Before the pandemic, we had 2 years off due to the pandemic. Before the pandemic, we only had Monona Police. And then there were some parade scenarios, bad scenarios in that time frame. And so the security at the parade is like ×5 what it used to be. And so that's why Madison stepped into, and Monona wants them to step in. We want everyone safe. It's a necessity to run this scale of a parade these days.
Awesome. Thanks for that additional context. Questions from Betsy, Colleen, or Mitchell? All right. Hearing and seeing none. Thank you, Kelly. We'll move on to Snow Snake Games, and there's Pat
Thank you,
here.
guys.
Thanks.
Okay. Thank you for considering this, and just a little information about the Snow Snake game. This is the second time that we are looking at hosting this, and the Snow Snake game is an event that has taken place at San Damiano, which, as many of you know, was originally tribal land of the Ho-Chunk people. And the Snow Snake game is a traditional tribal game that's played by a number of tribes in the Great Lakes area. It's a really fun winter event where a long berm of snow with kind of a trough is built, and spears, wooden spears that are carved, are used to throw the spears, and people compete to see how far the spears can slide along the trough. And part of it was just for fun and recreation for the tribal people, but it was also an athletic training for spearfishing. And we've been fortunate to connect with the Ho-Chunk Nation for a number of things. And the tribal historic preservation officer, Bill Quackenbush, has led this event in the past and has wanted to do it again. One of the things that has come up since the application was turned in, Bill notified us that the date of January 26th no longer works for him. The tribal government has had a change in some of their leadership, and his boss has requested that he attend something out of town. So we're looking at an alternative date, which would be February 2nd. And so that's a Friday. One of the things that also causes some changes, our original date was a date that students were out of school, and we were able to do this in the afternoon so that kids and families would, the activity would be available to them. The 2nd of February is a school day. So we would also need to change the time, and looking at from 4:30 to 7:30. So a number of things are in the process of being changed. One, our arrangement with the Monona Grove School District to have auxiliary parking available and a shuttle. That changes. So there's some details that we are still working out. We do have a meeting tomorrow and should be able to iron out these things. But anyway, those as everybody who plans something knows, be prepared for change, and that's what happens. And as we consider, do we continue or just beg this? And Mother Nature keeps adding her voice by bringing more snow, saying, do it. Oh, anyway, that's the event. And of course, with that, Bill Quackenbush, who comes from Black River Falls, would be coming and staying in one of the hotels, of course, here in Monona. Bill also encourages people from the tribe to come and participate in the games and to help him out. I don't know how many people that would bring in, but in the first event that we did, there were actually Winnebago tribal members from Nebraska who came to both help and participate. So in terms of heads and beds, a lot of the tribal participation is what contributes to that. Besides the games, we have, there's a lot of setup that's involved. Obviously, building the track takes a lot of volunteer time, but creating the signs, the awards, the keeping track of the distances and the competitions. There would be 3 different competitions, 3 different age groups. The winners of each competition then would compete again at the very end for the winners. It's so there's a lot of volunteer involvement with this. We would provide for both volunteers and, of course, for people attending, hot chocolate, hot cider. We would have 6 fire pits, and in the past, and we plan to do this again, is prepare baggies that have all the contents for s'mores, so people can roast marshmallows and have s'mores and just kind of enjoy, hopefully, being outside in the winter snow. The city has snowshoes that are available on site. So with the snow, we're hoping maybe we can also encourage people who are there to try a little snowshoeing around San Damiano. No.
Perfect.
That's the event.
Yeah. Any questions for Pat? My only comment is hopefully the snow stays. Till the second.
The temperatures are dropping, so I got a pretty good chance that we're going to have snow for a while.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, thank you. And then our last one is Lake Monona 20K and 5K.
All right. Yeah, I'm here in place of Ryan Griesmeyer. This year will be the 46th annual Lake Monona 20K and 5K. Starting and finishing in Winnequa Park and running around the lake. Last year for this one, we had people, participants from more than 30 states and several countries that came in to participate for this event, with more than 7% of them staying in a hotel. We get that information from the day after the race. We send emails to all the participants with their results and photos and attach a survey, which we had over 20% of the people filled out the survey. And this does not include like if they stayed in Airbnbs and with friends and stuff, because those were options that they could choose, but 7% stayed in hotels. And we had just over 2,000 registered participants last year, and we're already trending above that for this year. Probably looking somewhere between 2,500 to 2,750. We promote the event or the hotels for the event through our website at lakemonona20k.com. We send individual emails to the 150,000+ participants on our email chain. Our Facebook page, Facebook event, Instagram, Google Ads. We'd also just do a lot of targeted listings in Illinois and throughout the Midwest, kind of trying to cover the whole region. Also having some, working with a marketing agency that we do some other things like on a website that puts this on an event calendar across all the states, and just tries and puts it in several different magazines. And so it's a lot of promotion, a way trying to get it in as many endurance magazines and things like event calendars as we can.
The only
Yeah,
other,
yeah, go ahead.
sorry. I was gonna say the only other question I kind of had connected with, I run it, but I forget that there's a survey afterwards. I mean, is there any other consideration to ask on the front end when registering? Like, do you plan to stay in a hotel? I mean, I obviously know that's a soft number compared to like after the fact, people saying I actually did stay in a hotel, but that would at least capture like all of the attendees, whereas the other one, you know, you said 20% fill out the survey.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's definitely something that we can look at, and we can also look at because there's a lot of returning runners. So if they answered it afterwards, there's a good chance a lot of those people are also running it again the next year. So you're getting a lot of those same demographics, but we're really trying to reach out past the 30 states that we were able to get and try to increase that.
Yeah.
Brad, how many racers did you say you get?
Last year there were around 2,200 registered, and this year we're already trending above that. I was just looking, we're already 130 above our last year's pace. So we hope that's only going to continue to grow as different marketing efforts and promotions and things go out.
I'm sorry if you already mentioned this, but do you have any partnerships with other running organizations?
Other running organizations? I mean, we put it in like running magazine, like the Chicago Athlete magazine. We work with BibRave, who's a marketing agency that's really been helping us out over the last year and a half to really up our marketing efforts and reach a broader group of people.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Great.
Any other questions? Awesome. Thanks, Brad. Thanks for
Thank
being the last one. All right. Are there any staff updates? Any additional staff updates? No. So next meeting, we're going to be immediately in touch with all the commissioners to schedule a meeting. We'll let all of the applicants, similarly, hopefully Neil notified you all about this meeting, so we'll use the same situation to notify you about the next meeting. Again, I would say you're welcome to attend that meeting, like you're welcome to attend any meeting in case we have certain questions or anything. But as I said, I think, you know, for Teresa, who's not here, I'll tell her to review this recording so that she sees the presentations. If we have, you know, minor questions in between then or now and then, we'll reach out with those questions to all the applicants. And then, you know, again, if you're not there and available when we meet next, worst case scenario is if we have a lot of questions, we'll reach out to you afterwards, not approve anything at that meeting for your particular application, reach out to you, get questions answered, and then meet again as a commission. So we will keep everybody up to date. I am extremely apologetic that this date did not work for everybody, and sickness happens. So our next meeting will be hopefully next week. We'll get that scheduled, as I said. You see, and just for verbal gratification, our next application set process is due on April 1st. That is not a joke. And then we will meet as a commission on the 11th of April. And then our next one after that is July 1st, and then we'll meet on July 11th. And then the next one after that is October 7th, and then we'll meet on the 17th. So again, we decided to meet quarterly so that we could chunk it up throughout the year so that we're already scheduled and on the calendars of all the commission members too. So those are our next meeting dates. Is there anything else from the commission for the good of the order? All right, we will be in touch. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Colleen, is there a second?
I can second.
Betsy, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. All right, thank you, everyone. Thanks to all the applicants for attending. Appreciate it.